Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over how fatherhood changed my approach to fitness and life goals. Now, before I dive into the episode, if you've been a listener for any sort of time, or if you're a new listener to the show, what I'd like to do is before diving into the episode, diving into the main point of content, is going over what's going on in my personal life, either whether it's fitness, whether it's nutrition, things that I'm working on, races that I run, and just really sharing my experiences. So if you listen to the previous episode, I had gone off and I ran a 15K, I was going to say 10K, a 15K and ran it about an hour and 18 minutes. My goal of that was let's run about 9:30 miles, maybe get it down to 9-minute miles. This is my first race that I had done since I ran the marathon. So I ran the marathon October 13th, and I ran the 15K November 10th. So about a month difference in between them. Took me quite a while to recover from the marathon, a lot longer than I expected. I was back in the gym, but when it came to working out, specifically with my legs, when it came to running, my knees felt as though that they were just shot. And I wasn't sure whether it was a stress fracture, whether it was just inflammation. I really didn't change that much. I mean, I ran a little bit less after the marathon, and then I started taking more Epsom salt baths. I found that helped, and after about that month, I ended up starting to feel a lot better when I was going into that 15K. I ended up running, I think it was like 8:20-ish minute miles. I think the first mile I did, we started off on a downhill, was 8:15. I was like, oh, like that's definitely fast. And you always worry to yourself, am I starting off way too fast? But honestly, was able to just carry that pace for pretty much the entire race. I think the last like 0.65 miles, I had a 4:33 per minute 4:33 minute pace for a mile. So that was definitely going fast for that last 0.65 miles. That probably helped my time a little bit. But long story short, I have a half marathon coming up, and I was like, wow, like I didn't know that I could run that fast. I mean, I ran the marathon at 10:30. I ran the last half marathon I did at 9:30. I ran my first 5K, or my fastest 5K at 8:30. I only did two of them this year, so I did two 5Ks, one half, and one full. So, a minute difference in between each of them. I'm like, wow, like I ran this faster than all of them. Yeah, obviously it's not as long as your half marathon or your marathon, but I ran this 15K faster than my 5K. So that's giving me that confidence when I'm going out there and doing my half marathon, where I want to get under 2 hours. I believe for a time for that, it has to be under 9 minute, 15-second per mile pace. So I went out this past, was it Friday? Yes, it was Friday. Went out this past Friday and wanted to do just 6 miles, 9-minute pace. Just wanted to see like, okay, like what does a 9-mile pace feel like? Came out at 8:15. And then I started to do the math. I was like, if I do the next 5 miles at 8:15 or faster, I'm going to break 50 minutes in this 6-mile mark, and ended up finishing at a 8:05 pace. And I was definitely cooking when I was running. Definitely was pushing through some of the pain. I wouldn't say agony, but when you're going fast and it's like, okay, like I got 1.7 miles left, where it's like, it's not that far. But when I'm going a lot faster than I usually go, my heart rate's like 175. I am going faster. I know I can do it, but I'm going to push through it. And then I know that my body's going to be better because of it. So super happy with that. Like I mentioned, I have a half marathon coming up this Saturday. Not putting as much training into it from the sense of when I ran my last half marathon the weekend before, I ran 12 miles. This past weekend, the furthest I ran was 5 miles. So I did like 5, 6, 5, 5, 5, something like that. Like 20, is that accurate? 26 miles run, where I want to see how that works out for it, because after that I do this half marathon, I don't really have any other races coming up for a little bit. And I honestly, I like the 6 miles, I like the 5 miles, I like doing that consistently. Where I go the 10, I go the 13, it kind of wears me down a little bit, because at the same time I'm working out and strength training at the gym 5 times a week. So just wanted to make a mention of that. I'll tune in on next episode, let you know how that half marathon went. The goal is, barring really any setbacks, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to get under 9:15 minute mile. And hopefully my math is correct on that. I'm pretty sure I looked it up. Hopefully that is accurate. I'm not just saying incorrect numbers, and I actually need to run an 8:15 for the half marathon. Testing out some new BPN gels. I know they don't recommend doing that. I just got them in today as part of the Black Friday sale. Haven't tried them before. Do you want to try them? I had been using the Honey Stinger gels. I used it was like fruit smoothie or something like that, but I don't know. I just felt like my stomach would be very sick. So when I was doing my long runs for my marathon training, and I would go say like 14 miles and up, I was taking 3, 4, 5, 6 packets of it, and it would just really mess up my stomach. So just testing out the BPN brand Bare Performance Nutrition gels and seeing how those work. I think I have 1 or 2 more runs to go before this half marathon. So I'm gonna just test it out before and see how I feel. See, make sure I'm not throwing up, make sure that I don't get nauseous. Just, I don't know, anything that can happen when you're testing out something new before a long race. And then outside of that, I'm looking forward. Once this race is over, gonna be buying myself a new pair of shoes. I used the Hoka's Clifton 9, went to a shoe store, I got fitted. First pair I tried on, I was like, okay, let's go. I'd been using these $40 pair of Asics I bought on Amazon and a pair of Noble cross trainers. Definitely don't recommend those two as you start to progress, getting knee problems and shin splints and foot pain. And then once I got into the Hoka's, everything pretty much went away for the most part. But you can see they're pretty flat on the bottom right now, because I used them the last time I got a new pair of shoes was the end of August, right before I ran the half marathon. I think I ran in the new shoes once and then ran the half marathon. So I run the half marathon in them. I ran the full marathon. I run this 15K and all the miles in between that I'm just running throughout the week. I'm probably putting way too many miles on those shoes. So I'm like, this is the last hurrah, get through this half marathon and get a new pair of shoes. So really looking forward to that. Now, diving into today's episode, how fatherhood changed my approach to fitness and life goals. When I was thinking about this episode, I was like, what's the best way to go about it? And I think the best way I could go about it was to go through and just share the full story when it came to health, when it came to nutrition, so that way you can understand my background and to understand that I was working out before I had my daughter, where I find as though some people may have never worked out, then all of a sudden I have a son or a daughter, and next thing you know, they're trying to get themselves in better physical shape. Really, I started working out probably as a freshman, sophomore in high school. Gosh, I was probably, 11, 12, something like that. So I was probably 14 or 15 when I started going to the gym for the very first time. And I can't remember exactly why I started going to the gym, other than the fact that my father had an at-home gym for quite a while, and he would get up in the morning and he would work out. And I remember he had tons of dumbbells. He had them all the way up to 75s, I think. He had a dip bar, he had a treadmill, he probably had a curl bar. There's probably a number of things I can't remember because it's been so long since he had that home gym. But I could always see him working out. And then he started going to the gym. And then my mom started going to the gym. Then my sister started going to the gym. Then my brother started going to the gym. And my brother and sister, they are about 6 and 7 years older than me, give or take. Hopefully those numbers are accurate. I believe that they are. Not that you're going to know out there in the audience listening to the show, but they're about 6 and 7 years older than me. And I really hit it off with my brother, and especially my father, going to the gym. And I think just one day I was just like, hey, Dad, can I go to the gym? He was like, yeah, sure. Let's go work out. He hired a personal trainer for me just to get me started, get me doing some exercises. And I can just remember going back and working out at the gym. And even something as simple as doing flat dumbbell press, doing 25s in each hand, that was such a big deal for me back then. Benching 135, getting the 2 plates on either side, that was such a big deal to me back then. Squatting 225 for the first time. I just started getting back into deadlifting again, so I hadn't done that in so long, but that's part of the new fitness program that I'm on. But just started working out and was very consistent with it. I was working out probably 2 or 3 times a week. Wherever my father would go, he would buy me these nutrition drinks. and I can't remember the name of them. I don't want to say Quest because they weren't Quest, but they were purple and they were chocolate and they just tasted absolutely delicious. And we would bring a cooler together, throw them on ice, and we would have those drinks when we were done working out. And it was just absolutely delicious. So really just continue that on throughout high school. When I was into college, my brother turned me on to the Kino Body program by Grego Gallagher. The big aspect I found with his workout program was an emphasis on only working out like 2 to 3 days per week, and you were doing a ton of reverse pyramid training. So what that meant is instead of going to the gym and doing your lightest set, let's say you're bench pressing, instead of doing 135, 155, 175, you're doing it the opposite way. You're going 175, 155, 135. So you're doing your heaviest set first, and then you're working your way down. Where most people, as far as I knew, were working the other way up. They start small. I wouldn't say small. It's like you're like starting off at like the bar and then working your way up. You're just starting off a little bit lighter, then you're getting heavier and heavier as you go on. Where the goal is to do your heaviest set first, because when I'm benching, say that 175, and I've already done 135, 155, maybe I can do 5 reps. But when I'm benching 175, when it's my very first set, maybe I'm doing 7 to 8 reps. Maybe I do a little bit less on 135, but on 175, I'm doing more. So that was the whole premise behind that. Followed his program for quite a while and pretty much did that all throughout college, and was really, again, actively working out probably 2 to 3, definitely 3 times a week, probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if I'm being honest. Probably, that sounds about accurate. I mean, I'm looking at 5 to 6 years out of school, but that sounds about accurate. Wasn't really doing too much cardio. I remember there was a kick when I was a freshman in college where for some reason I had a lot of free time on my hand, and I would run on the treadmill probably twice a week in addition to the strength training, where I'd go 10 miles on the treadmill, which was definitely a mentally challenging from the standpoint of, who wants to run 10 miles on a treadmill? Not the most enjoyable. I mean, especially when you're just in a gym, there's nothing to look at, really. So did the Kino Body program. Whether I did it fully, that's unsure of that. But just, as I'm progressing, so I started working out with my dad and my brother. Then my brother was onto this Kino Body program, started working out more with him, then went off to college, started doing the program on my own. So now, fast forward quite a bit. So there's a lot of years in the gaps of this story. So graduated college in 2019. Now in 2023. So now we're looking at a 4-year difference. So it's been like 8 or 9 years since I've been working out at this point. So my daughter is born in June of 2023, and honestly, I felt good. I was still just going to the gym, 3, 4 times a week at that point. But I think it was sometime in December, I just looked and I'm like, I don't feel 100% all the time. I feel as though I'm just gaining weight. I'd gone up to about, I don't know, probably like 185, pushing 190 at that point. I wanted to be back down to about 175. And I was getting these migraines. I wouldn't say every week, but I mean, they were coming up about once every 2, 3, 4 weeks, and they were sporadic. You never knew that when they were going to come up, but they were very debilitating. So I was starting to wonder, like, is what I'm eating, where I didn't focus on anything that I was eating. I was just, hey, I'm working out 3 to 4 times a week. I can eat anything that I want. And really, that changed in December of 2023. And what I did is I was like, I want to get my nutrition in check. I'm working out, but I'm not seeing progress. I mean, I've been at this for 9 years now, and I'm not really seeing that much progress, but I never paid any attention to the nutrition aspect of it. I never calculated your macros, which is your carbs, fats, and protein. I never calculated my protein intake. I don't even think I was drinking protein shakes. I was pretty much just eating anything that I wanted. You could imagine that even if you're working out, but I wasn't even doing any sort of cardio. It was just going to the gym, lifting weights, coming home, and just eating whatever I want. So decided I'm going to work with a nutritionist in December of 2023. And that was like the best thing ever. I think I cut like probably like 185 to 175, 170, probably the course of 2 to 3 months. And it wasn't so much of a diet, where we call it more of a lifestyle change. That's when we started to look more into the ingredients of the food I'm eating. We started to look into tracking my macros, my protein intake. And I think it was at that point I started to feel that impact of going out there and having good quality food, making sure I'm getting enough protein intake every single day. And then she started recommending that I go to the gym, or as I'm going to the gym, start doing cardio for about, I think it was just like, in the beginning, it was really just running 1 mile on the treadmill 2 days a week, like Tuesday, Thursday, and maybe I picked it up on Saturday as well. And then as I started to go down this route of switching up my diet, and I wouldn't call it so much of a diet as I would call it a lifestyle change, started running more. That's when I started watching more fitness videos. And I would find people like Nick Bear and these other fitness influencers that were out there, and I would start incorporating what they were eating, getting that approval from my nutritionist, start incorporating what they're doing in their workouts into my workout, and started to feel better overall. And for me, it was like, I just want to be that person for my daughter. I don't want her to look at me and be like, okay, like I just look like the average dad, which is, again, not to say it's a bad thing, but that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be the average dad with a gut who has a hard time picking up his kid, who can't run around the yard with his kid. I want to look physically strong. And people know, like, if you look physically strong, you've put in the work. And I want my daughter to know that I have put in the work in the gym, that I've showed up every single day, especially living in upstate New York, where I'm going out there in January and it's like 10 degrees to get in the car and I'm freezing and I still have to get up in the cold dark. I go to the gym in the dark. I come home in the dark. It's freezing. No one wants to be out there, but I'm still gonna show up every single day. And I think that just really changed my approach, where I was like, okay, like I actually want to be fit. I want to show her that I can be fit, and I want to take this nutrition seriously. I want to be here with her for a very, very, very long time. And the way that my habits are right now, it's not going to be that way. So, like I mentioned, started watching more fitness videos, started incorporating what I was seeing, started incorporating what I was doing with the nutritionist, and that really just allowed me to change my diet. And so, like, right now, I pretty much have my macros, which is my carbs, my fats, and my protein pretty much dialed in. I can't recall my fat. I think my fats are 70 grams a day. I think my carbs are about 430 grams a day, and my protein intake is about my body weight. So I'm looking at 170, 175 grams of protein per day, and I'm looking to get in about 3,100 calories. I just use MyFitnessPal, and I'm able to track everything. I just recommend purchasing whatever the cost is for the year. It might have been $80, and that was super beneficial. And then now, even in the last month or so, like, okay, I got this nutrition down. I'm seeing these workouts online, but I'm kind of just like hashing it together. So I've talked about this in another video, but I'll talk about it here again, where I use what's called the Playbook app. And one of the BPN athletes, Nathan French, has a workout routine on it, and he basically puts every single workout, how many reps, how many sets. He does videos of it so I can see exactly what form I should be doing. So started doing that lifting, and I even feel like, okay, like now on top of doing the nutrition aspect of it, on top of doing the cardio, where I'm consistently running about 25 miles a week right now, give or take. Sometimes I might run a little more from training for a race or whatnot, but I want to consistently get 20 to 25 miles a week running, where right now it's about 25 to 30 miles a week on any given week. And then now I'm coupling it with this fitness routine. I'm like, there's no way that I can't get my ideal body and be in the best shape that I can, because I have the nutrition dialed in, I have the cardio dialed in. Now I'm getting the fitness dialed in, where I done what I'd learned from the trainer way back when I was doing what I had learned from Kino Body, just half-assing it, maybe not doing it to the best of my abilities. And then now I have an actual fitness routine that I'm following, and it's just pushing myself in ways that I probably could never have expected. And really, at the end of the day, it's just, I want to be that inspiration for my daughter. I just want her to know, like, okay, like my dad is physically fit. Okay, he's going on a run. Okay, he's lifting weights. Okay, he has this nutrition. And I mean, for me, I'm a very routine oriented person. So I have like the same dinners every week, have the same lunches, have the same breakfast, making sure that it's good quality food, buy from local farms, buy, if I'm buying, I don't know, milk, buying like good quality milk, just different things like that. And it just really changed everything where it's like, okay, like I don't want to just be going through the motions, just going to the gym, just going on runs, just eating whatever I want. I want to actually have some strategy behind this. And then I want to have the goal of being around for my daughter as long as possible. I don't want to be someone who's 70 who can't hang out with their kids or has to use a walker or be in a wheelchair because they never worked out a day in their life. That's not at all who I want to be. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. I mean, until you have kids, it's hard to really grasp it. But once you have a kid, I mean, it changes your entire perspective on your life. So this one is really for all the parents out there. And I hope that you could relate to this episode. I'd really appreciate it if you could leave me a 5-star review on iTunes and share your comments. I love to hear what you think of the show. Until next week, here's to dominating the week ahead.